Will the audio be okay? Okay. All right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining us for our first public forum on what I'm referring to as the identity for Salamanca City Central School Districts. My name is Mark Beeler. I'm the superintendent of schools, where my job is to improve teaching, learning, and relationships throughout the Salamanca community. I am joined here today by Grace Hedera. Would you like to introduce yourself, Grace?
Yeah, I'm Grace Hedera. I'm a senior here at Salamanca. I'm president of the Salamanca Student Activist Club as well. So that's kind of why I'll be joining in on this panel.
Terrific. So moving forward, we will have additional students joining us, both from the Student Activism Club, as well as our student government and the Allegheny Indigenous Youth Coalition. This is our first go round, but we will continue to have public forums until we have gotten to a point where that we believe we have exhausted all of the input. I do have a bit of a PowerPoint that we're going to use to sort of guide us through some questions and a little bit of our discussion. So just some basic outlines and expectations for what we're looking to get out of today. We're looking at this, and our organization is based in the belief that we're here for the purpose of teaching and learning. And our expectations are going to be for all of the participants in this forum to serve as a role model for civility and also for critical open dialogue. Just as a reminder, all the participants are subject to our district code of conduct, which prohibits, and of course we won't have any concerns, disruptive, disorderly, or insightful behaviors. Individuals who would like to speak today will initially be provided with 3 minutes until all individuals have spoken. We can provide additional time if necessary at that point. The goal here is to have several sessions. We're placing a cap at about 50. This way we can ensure that we have everyone has an opportunity to be heard and to have some dialogue. We're going to limit today's session to a total of 2 hours in length, and then on our website you will see under the community forums that we have 5 or 6 more scheduled, and depending upon participation we will add more as necessary. So here's a little bit of how we're going to start out. I'm going to give a bit of an introduction and history. I'll talk a little bit about some of the actions that have been taken to date. We have some guiding questions, and then we will open up the forum for individuals who wish to be heard or that have questions. So the Salamanca district has been identified as the Warriors for nearly as long as the district has been around. And that's a little over, well, we're actually over 800 years old. But I can go back and find the Warriors back to about 80 years ago definitively. Logo that we currently have that is associated with the Warriors has changed, but was developed about 50 years ago. And around 2001, the school district reaffirmed its identity as the Warriors and decided at that point in time to continue its use of the Native American logo that we currently see throughout the district, as well as on many of our uniforms. So a little bit of history as far as the logo itself. You'll notice that prior to 1978, a logo not identical to, but very similar to the one seen here on the left, was utilized and associated with Salamanca School District. In 1978, you'll see as we move to the right, the logo and with the circle is what was adopted. This was developed by Seneca artist Carson Waterman. And the intent there was to more accurately depict a historically accurate native Seneca. The one on the left has a sort of traditional Western war bonnet, which is not what Senecas have worn in the past and continue to wear to this day. You'll see that we also identify as the Warriors, and the logo that was developed after 1978 has been in use not only synonymously with the Warriors, but also independently. And then in 2022, prior to the need for these discussions, the district also began to implement the logo that you see there, or the lettermark. That is intended to be used in conjunction with the Native American logo. And the intent there was to incorporate the S for Salamanca. So we have both the Warriors, the S, the feather there is an eagle feather, which is to represent the feather, the single feather, which is in the Gastoa, which is traditional Seneca headdress. So a little bit about why we're here. On November 17th, the New York State Education Department issued a memo requiring the elimination of Native American mascots. Throughout the state of New York, we see many school districts that are identified in manners that are now considered to be either derogatory, diminishing, or in violation of the Dignity for All Students Act. And that would be, terms such as the Indians, the Red Raiders, things like that. And in December of 2022, a memo following up on that November memo was issued that proposed a timetable and a new rule, which would be permanent on May 3rd. Now, we don't have a tremendous amount of information with regard to the particulars, but the proposed timeline is that by the end of the 2022-2023 school year, which is the current year that we're in right now, the school board would have to commit to the elimination of all Indigenous names, logos, and mascots. Once that commitment is made, school districts have until the end of the 24-25 school year to eliminate all of those names and symbols and logos that are associated with Indigenous or Native American names or connections. So the concern or issue that we have in Salamanca is that we are identified as the Warriors. And the Warriors, the term in and of itself, does not necessarily associate directly with Native Americans or Indigenous peoples, but the use of the logo and our letter mark, so the Native American logo and then the S with the feather, once any of those two are combined together, we find ourselves in conflict with the requirements as we understand them from the Education Department. So let me also provide a little bit of sort of where we are and what we've done to this particular point. Up to this point, we have had some informal discussions. The district met with the Seneca Nation of Indians to just sort of coordinate some of our efforts and open up a dialogue. No decisions of any nature were made at that point in time, other than our commitment to each other to support one another and to continue an open dialogue. Since then, I have also had the opportunity to meet with our school board on this particular topic, as well as our student government and some of our other students to solicit their input and identify a process moving forward. And that process is that we will continue the open forums like today. We will receive information and feedback in both written form, electronically, and on paper, so that everyone in the Salamanca community has an opportunity to be heard. That information will then be compiled. We will then make a recommendation to our school board. And then first thing that we need to do really is identify, do we have a concern and what those specific concerns are, and then determine at that point what the course of action will be moving forward. I will share with you that there have been indications from the New York State Education Department that districts may have the opportunity to keep symbols or an identity that can be associated with Indigenous peoples with the permission of a Native American tribe. That has been put in place, as we understand it, and in the event that Salamanca decides that we're content with what we have, but that also would be dependent on collaboration and a positive affirmation from the Seneca Nation of Indians. So at this point in time, before we even go down that path, we need to identify and look at this as an opportunity to bring the entire community together to gather input. So in collaboration with some of our students and primarily student government, we established a couple, what I'm referring to as guiding questions. And I'll just read those off and those can begin to prompt some of the thought, and then we'll open up the floor for dialogue. First question is, what do you believe it means to be a warrior? Do you identify with the term warrior? Do you have any concerns or are you offended over the term warrior? What are your thoughts on our Native American logo? Do you identify with our current Native logo? And do you have any concerns or are you offended by the use of our logo? So at this point in time, I will open up the floor for thoughts or opinions from anyone that would wish to share.
Yeah, so we had a meeting about this a couple weeks ago. We had talked with some people from SYC, some students who just decided to come, and SSA members. And I think we had kind of talked about the logo in itself and like its history and stuff like that. And we had, I think it's one of the things that Mr. Happel brought up. He brought up the idea of the Warriors like term was kind of created by Franks in Germany, and it's over 800 years old. So it's not only been a term used in this kind of context, like it's has other history and origins to it other than athletic teams and stuff like that. We also talked a lot about how it is representative of the people here. I think both the logo and the name, it represents a large majority of our students. How, I mean, I'm not sure what statistic is floating around right now. I know it was 30% of students, but pretty sure now it's 50%.
Right, so we are, the number that we currently have is about 48%, right? Yep.
So that demographic has definitely changed and contributed to this conversation. I think when half of your students are Native American, that seems to be reflective of makes it more appropriate to.
Sure. So, can I ask you a question? Make sure I'm hearing right. So the first point that I got was the term warriors has a history that's goes well beyond Salamanca and actually originates outside of the United States. Okay. So I think the issue, the point you were bringing up there is that while we identify with that term in Salamanca, because that is sort of the identity that has been here for decades, it isn't necessarily something that is only or exclusive to Salamanca. And then I believe your other point that you brought forward was that the group of students that you were working with, given the demographics of about 48% of our students being Native American, is it safe to say that they do identify with the logo? Okay. Would you be willing to share any other thoughts or anything else that came up? I hate to put you on the spot like that.
No, it's okay. We talked about athletics and how it has kind of posed to be a problem in athletics. I mean, a big thing our basketball team experienced. I mean, we've had other teams like Southwestern and schools like that, grabbing our boys' grades and in a soccer game my freshman year, we had parents from Falconer. We've had kids from Allegheny saying, "Gosh, those native girls." Our athletes have definitely been exposed to remarks and bigotry like that, but I think something a conclusion that we kind of came down to is that balance of education, where we can use this to kind of educate others. Come north, school that Native American people still exist today. It's not a trope kind of thing. It's we're saying that you can use this to kind of break those stereotypes. Make moves towards that.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else that would care to share? For those that are viewing at home or post forum, I believe due to the timing and the weather conditions today, participation is a little bit light. I anticipate that we will have a lot more attendance as we move forward, so we'll consider today sort of as a bit of a practice, but I do want to say that it is very important that the comments and thoughts that Grace has shared will be memorialized as we move forward. This recording will be posted to our website so that there's a history of the process that we have gone through. And I really appreciate your contribution. So thank you very much.
If I jump in really
Please,
quick,
Mr. Hubbard.
Just to piggyback off of what Grace said, with athletic events, I've been at a number of them where there has been incidents, whether they've been done by opposing teams or done by opposing fans. And I think the big factor there was not the name or the logo that we have Native American students. And I think, like Grace said, the name and the logo is a great way to help educate, educate not only our students in our community, but also educate people that and school districts that we face in those competitions. And I think that it's a way for our students to grow a bit of resilience and understanding that even though you will unfortunately have to deal with these types of barriers and discrimination, that you still can and should take pride in your history and in your identity. And I think it was Rachel Wolf who, when I talked to her, said that no matter what, no matter how you identify, if you go to Salamanca and you're from here, you are a warrior, because that's what people here do. I think she can say it much better than I can, obviously, but yeah.
She
so
might have actually. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's all I wanted to put in.
Terrific. So if I were just to summarize what you said, so I make sure I accurately have that down. You've indicated that you have been to athletic events where inappropriate comments have been made, but you don't necessarily believe that that's connected with the Warrior name or with the logo, but is due more likely to the makeup of our population.
Correct.
And it's safe to say that, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but the connection to the resident on a reservation.
Absolutely. Yeah. In fact, some of the comments were specifically about being on a reservation. So yes, 100%.
Thank you. We have a couple other individuals who have just joined us. Welcome. We are recording this. This is our first go round, so we had an opportunity to hear from Grace, Mr. Hubbard. We also had a little bit of a history and some guiding questions, which I'll be happy to go through again if you'd like to see those.
Sure. If you wouldn't mind, and I just, for the record, I'm here with my education director hat, and so is Tracy, so we won't be participating in the discussion.
Okay, terrific. I appreciate that. And what I would also appreciate is I'm going to just go through the PowerPoint or the presentation again, and maybe I'll do that after the recording, because I'd like to get a little bit of feedback. As we progress through these forums, I imagine there'll be a sense of evolution to what we're saying and how we're saying it. So I'm always open to feedback, and I appreciate that. You got it. All right, well, I believe we've heard from those individuals here that wish to speak, so I'm going to end the forum. This will be recorded and posted to our website, but I'll take this opportunity moving forward to gather some input. So thank you.